I was one of the lucky people who managed to get into the Undisputed Beta Test, the multiplayer beta test, and I was very excited to be able to finally play this boxing game that I've been covering on the channel for nearly 2 years now. So I did a live stream here right on the channel last night covering the game, and of course I can give my opinions during a live stream. I can let the audience know how I'm feeling, but I thought it would be great to sit back and reflect on what happened on the Undisputed Multiplayer Beta Test Day 1. Welcome to gaming and welcome to another Undisputed update video. Now, I would be lying if I said that the multiplayer test for Undisputed went smoothly. There was a lot of issues in the game and with the servers from the beginning. Lots of players complaining about the fact that they couldn't access the game. Lots of us stuck on the searching match waiting screen. Of course, any of you guys that did join my live stream will have seen that I spent almost 3 hours not playing the game. I think I played 2 rounds and we got disconnects and things like that, and it was looking pretty bleak. But eventually it was sorted and the beta test was extended by an hour, and from that extension and an update applied from Steel City Interactive, we did manage to get regular gameplay. So this is my honest opinion of the Undisputed Multiplayer Online Beta Test Day 1. There's going to be positives, there's going to be negatives, but I am totally going to be honest with you. So a couple of the negative things then. As we said, a lot of us had to sit and wait. We couldn't get into the games. Apparently the issue was mainly concentrated in the United States and the United Kingdom. Players sat in the matchmaking search queue for hours upon hours with no gameplay. Now, when we were getting close to the 3-hour mark, I was getting quite despondent and disappointed. Of course, it is a beta test, so there are bound to be things that don't work. And of course, Steel City Interactive were trying to test their servers and how they could handle a volume of people playing the game. But considering that we'd built up all week to this online test and most of us couldn't actually get on, it was a little bit frustrating, and I could understand some of the frustrations being aired on Twitter and in the Discord. Having said that, some people did go a little bit overboard. We've got to remember that Steel City Interactive is a small team compared to other games developers, and they worked tirelessly throughout the night to try and get this issue sorted, which ultimately they did fix in the end. So leading into Day 2, hopefully it's going to be a lot more smoother for everyone involved. There'll have been lessons learned from Steel City Interactive as Day 1 was progressing. We've also got to remember that Steel City Interactive are based in the UK. They were getting down to being quite late at night when the first extension was announced, and people were asking for a second one, but they obviously decided to finish up around midnight. Now, other things in the initial part of the game, there was 3 updates, I believe, during the multiplayer beta test. But some of the things that we noticed early on was that the game was FPS dropping the longer that you had it running. So of course, many of us were just sat in the queues, and I noticed on my stream that I would start with 144 frames per second in the menu alone. But as I was sat waiting and the search was continuing, the FPS count was dropping gradually all the way down to like 5, and then even at 1 frames per second at some point. So we were having to reboot the game quite often just to get the FPS up, just in case we got a match, because my first few moments of gameplay were really quite sluggish and framey, really bad frames. But later on, when the final update of the day was applied, this wasn't so much of an issue. Now, I was saying in my stream that I was wondering if there will be commentary, because of course with it being just the multiplayer beta, there's only 1 arena for us to play in and just 4 boxes. Which is totally fine. I understand that, because as we say, it's just a test. They don't need to put all the fully fledged things in the game. So I didn't know if commentary would be in there. I thought maybe it would just be quite bare bones and maybe just be the game audio, the sound audio from the crowd and the boxing, the gloves hitting and things like that. But there was commentary, which was a pleasant surprise. However, the commentary did get very annoying, as Todd Grisham kept saying the same thing over and over again. I think he kept saying something about one of these fighters will be in contention for the championship. There was a moment in my stream where he literally said it back to back 3 times. Now, going back to the point that I made, this is possibly due to the commentary being very base implemented for this test, and maybe we shouldn't be too concerned and looking into that too much. There was also moments where I think it's Johnny Nelson was the co-coms, and he was talking over himself. So like there was 2 lines of audio playing when we came out of or into a new round, and again that was quite when you've got the headphones on, that's quite annoying for you to listen to. So I think going into day 2, I'm going to have the commentary turned off on my live stream. There was many glitches in the first implementation of the multiplayer beta test of graphical glitches on the character select loading screen. If you went between the men's and the women's division, you'd end up with a character down the bottom of the screen and then like one stood above them. There was a moment where like Sophie Alish had like 2 sets of arms for me, and she was like clipping through a stock character, you know, like the stock character where they stand like that. I'll show it on screen. But yeah, that was sort of in the initial character select screen before many of us could get any games, but I didn't really notice this to be an issue after the 3rd update was applied, so maybe there was a fix applied during that update. So that's many of the negatives out of the way, and as I say, many of these negatives that I am listing you can just brush off as, well, it's a beta and there's going to be bugs and glitches. It even said that as we loaded into the game. It's to be expected, guys. Not many people should really be moaning about the state of certain things, but there are things that were in the game that you sort of think, well, maybe it should have been better for this test, but regardless, there were some positives as well to take away. So during that final hour when they had extended the beta, I got back-to-back matches. I think I played 3 matches in the last hour, and wow, the gameplay was pretty good. I was really enjoying it, getting used to the controls, trying to get used to the combinations of punches. Now I had some people in my stream saying that they thought it looked a bit stiff and a bit robotic, and yes, possibly that could be argued compared to some of the footage that we've seen where the movement is a little bit more fluid. But regardless, I was happy enough playing what I played. I thought it was an enjoyable experience for a boxing game. There were many comparisons saying that it was like Fight Night Champion, and while the movement was similar to Fight Night Champion, which is going to be because that was a boxing game, although it was an arcadey boxing game, the leaning to dodge the punches, that was quite stiff, I felt, and it looked kind of weird when you were doing it over and over and over. It didn't kind of look quite natural to me. But trying to learn how to duck and dive and weave out of punches was really enjoyable. Now I lost all my matches, I wasn't very good on the game, and hopefully for night 2 I'm going to be somewhat better and try and get some wins in. But just learning how to do the movement and to get the punch combinations in was really enjoyable. I was never too sure if my blocks were entirely working, and I feel like this might be something that might need looking at. On commentary sometimes Todd Grisham was saying like, oh, that one was blocked or something to similar effect, but I was never too sure. Maybe it's just that I didn't learn how to block properly, but yeah, I'm unsure on that one. Hopefully we'll be able to do like tutorials and stuff when the full game comes out, and that will help a lot of people play this game. People like myself. I'm going to need to learn to play this because I sucked on it last night. As I said, the frame rate issue kind of wasn't there during the last hour. There were still a few moments, but generally it played really smooth. The gameplay was really smooth when it worked. Getting some of the damage when the punches landed, so I got a cut on one of my boxer's eyes. I managed to land a bit of damage on one of my opponents as well, cutting their eye. And seeing that on the visual side of things did look really good, mixed in with the sweat as well on the boxers. I was really impressed with the way the game looked, although it didn't quite look as up to par with what we've been seeing in some of the footage, but it did look really impressive regardless. Now it seems like it's going to be a boxing game that is going to be more thought out in terms of when you play online. Having played Fight Night Champion online, you know, you could basically just spam over and over and over and over the same punches and get that kind of result. But it does seem like this is going to be a bit more thought out. You know, you're going to have to think about your punch strategies. You're going to have to think about your combinations. You're going to have to think about whether you're going to go on the inside or the outside. And I think this should lend itself nicely to some good online play. Of course, you are still going to get those people that spam one thing over and over, and there probably will be things that are found and exploited. That is just the nature of online gaming. I like the overall presentation of the HUD. I thought that looked pretty clean. You know, it's pretty simple, but sometimes the simple things work the best. I like the menu screen that we had to look at for a long time. I thought, again, that looked very clean, very simple, very effective, nice to look at. So for me, it's all about just learning how to play the game. And now that hopefully we're going to be able to get more back-to-back games in on night 2, I should be able to start really learning how to get better at Undisputed. And of course, this is not the final product. This is not how the game is going to launch in early access. This is an opportunity for the devs to test out the game. So it could be that we learn techniques during this multiplayer test that might not work when we get to the early access. And on the back of my honest opinions on the Undisputed Day 1 multiplayer beta test, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone that tuned in to my live stream last night. It was my most popular live stream ever on YouTube. I had 50 people watching at once, at one time during the stream, and that's the most I've ever had concurrently. And we were literally sat looking at a search screen for nearly 3 hours. It was insane. I got like nearly 40 likes on it and over 1,000 views overall. So I really do appreciate everyone that stopped by and came to chat to me. Hopefully we see some of you tonight for night 2. And thank you to everyone that subscribed as well. I got to 1,500 subscribers on the stream last night, which was another amazing moment. So let me know your thoughts on Undisputed Multiplayer Test Night 1. What did you think? What was your experience? I know there's going to be a lot of you say that you couldn't get into the game. There's a lot of people moaning that they didn't get access to it as well. Of course, DLC Interactive needed to limit the amount of people that got access to it to test these servers. I think there might be a second wave of invites going out either today or possibly tomorrow, although I would imagine that DLC Interactive might think, well, maybe it's not best for us to add more people into this, but who knows. As I say, they did get it working a little bit better last night at the end. So guys, I'll see you hopefully for that stream later tonight, and I'll see you in the next video too.